Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Quran Steps, Surah number 19, Surah Maryam, verse number 3 and 4 today. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Let's begin with the recitation. إذ نادى ربه نداء خفيا. إذ, when. Nada, he called. This is i.e. Zakaria alayhi salam. Who did he call? Rabbahu, his Lord. Nida'an, his call was a call. Khafiya, private, i.e. a supplication, dua. What does nada mean? Nada literally means he called, i.e. to call out loud, and is understood to mean he supplicated, made dua. Khafiya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes his nida as khafi, hidden, stealthy, i.e. the scholars explain that means it was done at night, in the tahajjud time. Why at night? Well, if we think about the night and the day and we compare the two, it's a moment of reflection. The day is when we're quite busy, we're doing things, working, dealing with people, whereas at night it's quiet. And when we're quiet, we can concentrate on one thing with a lot of our attention, and so the chance of the response is much higher. Compare if we look at government, people in authority, we can only approach them during the working hours, not on holidays. They're limited hours. But when we talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can make dua at any time, all the time. If you think about government again, when you make a dua, when you make an application, when you want something from them, they want it in a formal written process usually, and then it goes for processing. But with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's simple. You raise your hands and you make a dua, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reading what's in your heart. One other reflective point is that silence helps with sincerity. When you're at night, it's easier to be sincere. Nobody's watching. So your connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is stronger. Likewise, when you give charity silently, your sincerity is greater. When nobody's watching and you give the charity, you know it's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody else is there to appreciate you. Is a nida, the call, loud or silent? Usually the word nida is used for something that is loud. So what does this imply to us? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use that word? Well, when something is loud, it marks its importance. When we're speaking to somebody, we say something really loudly, we want them to pay attention. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing out that the volume in Zakaria alayhi salam's heart was very loud. You can imagine sometimes inside you're screaming, you're shouting, but outside there's silence. Next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then repeats or quotes what Zakaria alayhi salam says. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Qala rabbi inni wahana al-'azmu minni washta'ala ar-ra'su shayba wa lam akun bi du'aika rabbi shaqiyya. Qala rabbi, he said, my Lord, inni wahana al-'azmu minni, indeed my bones have become weak. Wahan, weak. وَاشْتَعَلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبَةً, and my head has filled with white. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَائِكَ رَبِّي شَقِيًّا, and I have never been shaqi with your dua, never been unhappy. In other words, you've answered my duas in the past. Let's look at some of the reflective points. Does Zakaria alayhi salam say bone or bones? He uses the word al-'azm. قَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي وَهَنَ الْعَظْمُ مِنِّي. Literally, al-'azm in Arabic is the singular. The bone is literally how we translate it. But the translators translate it as bones. Why? Because in Arabic, the word, if we take a word like shajara, it means a tree. Ash-shajara, the single tree. But if we use the word ash-shajar without the ta marbuta, with alif lam, this implies all trees. The tree literally means all trees. What we write in English with the plural, trees. So when he says al-'azmu, it literally is the bone, but it's understood to be what they call ismul jins, or the noun of species, referring to all his bones. When you grow old, what hurts? Is it the bones or the joints? So medically, what hurts are the joints. Okay, bones only hurt when they're broken or something is inside them, such as cancer, yadhu billah min dhalik, an infection, etc. So this is the medical use of the term, the word bone. But linguistically, when we say bones, we're referring to the entire skeleton, including the joints. That's why in English we even have a phrase. We say, I can feel it in my bones. It doesn't mean you feel anything in your bones, but what it means, you feel it intuitively, internally. You've got a strong feeling. Just out of interest, there's a disease called osteoporosis where the bones become thin, and that disease is actually painless. It only hurts when the bone breaks. Why did Zakaria alayhi salam say the head and not my head? Okay, so if you actually look at the translation, they translate this as my head. We go back to the translation. Indeed, my head, says it, and my head has filled with white. So this my head, this is from Sahih International. But if you actually look at the Arabic, it doesn't say my head. What does it say? Ishta'ala ar-ra'su shayba. Ar-ra's, the head, has become shayba, white. And they say this is eloquence because he's already said minni, wahana al-'azmu minni, the bones from me. So he doesn't need to replace the me again. That's the beauty of an eloquence of his dua. The scholars also point out that death has a messenger, and it is white hair. SubhanAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us understand the message that this messenger has come with. How to make dua, tawassul. If you look at the three components of Zakaria alayhi salam's dua, he starts by saying Qala Rabbi. He refers to Allah as his Lord, carer, nurturer. So remember, what is a Lord? A Lord takes you step by step by step by step to a final destination. Then he talks about his bones and his hair. He's declaring his weakness. When we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we need to come as beggars in front of Allah, not as somebody who feels entitled. Oh Allah, give me this, do that for me. I've been doing so much for you. No, we have to come to, oh Allah, I have been a sinner, and all of us are sinners, and I am weak, and you are Quwwat al-Mateen, you are the strong one. I am the beggar and you are the rich. Please help me. And he declares Allah's favors on him, because he says that previously he was not shaqi. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to give him. So he recounts the favors of Allah on him. So these are the three essentials that are being taught in how to make dua. What does the world ask us to concentrate on first? If you think about it, when the world today makes us think about the things that are visible, and the first thing that's visible when we look in the mirror is our skin. Hence we get this statement, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of all, talking about color. But Zakaria alayhi salam, what does he mention first? Does he say my skin is growing old, my hair is growing white? No, he first mentions his bones. Why? Why does he do that? Because it's his wisdom. He is pointing out the inner structure is weak, and this implies the outer structure will be weak too. The outer structure always depends on the inner structure. So just taking a tangent, just like our salah and our beliefs, our aqeedah, our iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what allows us to pray. And these two things are like the skeleton of a Muslim. If they are strong, all the other acts will be strong. But if they are weak, then this will definitely be weak. An example of eloquence, Zakaria alayhi salam, is brief but comprehensive. For example, he doesn't say my skin, my teeth, my eyesight are all going. He says very few words, but he gets the full message across. He talks about his bones, the hidden core, and the hair, the visible outer core, the outer part. Effectively, he says A to Z. Just out of interest, medically, skin, hair and nails are all similar types of cells. So if the hair have gone bad, there's obviously, it implies the skin and the nails. You don't need to mention everything. And likewise, when you have weak bones, bones hold your teeth and they will become loose. So beautifully, this ayah summarizes the call of Zakaria alayhi salam. We talked about what does nada mean, to call out. It shows at the time of night versus the day, and that nida is something that is loud and not silent. And then in the fourth ayah, we talk about the dua and how he mentions the word bone and not bones, but it means bones. And we understand it to be linguistic. He talks about the head, which means my head, another sign of eloquence. And how he makes tawassul. He addresses Allah as his Lord. He declares his weakness and he declares the favors of Allah in the past. And the beauty of his comprehensive words. He just says two things, but in that he covers A to Z, end to end. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand and reflect upon the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and implement it in our lives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.